Well, of course, Alex, nothing's perfect, but in view of the evidence that continues to reveal itself, a new and open investigation is certainly a step in the right direction. And here's the problem: when guys like myself choose to take a stand against this level of tyranny, for tyranny and deception, for lack of a better term, they spin it into this notion, this idea that we have cracked the case, we have the answers, we figured this thing out. No, that's not what we're doing here. All we're really saying is that, what we've been told to believe, we must reject on face value. We must reject it. And therefore, that is the foundation of the questions that so many of us have, that so many of us share, because it's not about having the answers. We know their stories are fraud, Alex. We are looking for the truth. Let's just talk about this for 1 second, Alex, and this has really bothered me from day one. How is it that two completely random events result in an identical occurrence?
You're talking about the collapse of the North and South Tower.
I ask you again, Alex, how is it that two completely random events result in an identical occurrence?
Two different types of jetliners, different fuel, different places, but the buildings collapse the same way. But what about Building 7? It's not hit by a plane. And then now they've got all that thermite and thermate reports and peer-reviewed journals and then all these videos of police and firemen saying the government told them to get back. Building 7 was to come down.
I think we should treat Building 7 exactly as the 9/11 Commission report did and completely ignore it. Because guess what? When you completely ignore something, it magically disappears. Isn't that what we've been taught to believe?
Oh, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Hey, I talked to the public, and a lot of them don't even know there was a 47-story building way off from the main towers that wasn't hit by a plane, had a few windows knocked out, and had the CIA based in it, and then it collapses in on itself. And then there's all these CNN videos of police and firemen saying, get back, they're going to bring the building down. We've got Jane Stanley, the reporter for BBC World. Mm-hmm. And then simultaneously on BBC 24 with other reporters, 25 minutes before Building 7 collapses after 5 p.m. in the afternoon, they get on the news and say Building 7 has collapsed into its own footprint symmetrically, and right out the window is Building 7.
All right, let's finish up in 3 parts the Virgin Never Before Heard Sheen interview. Back to it, men.
We've got Jane Stanley, the reporter for BBC World. Mm-hmm. And then simultaneously on BBC 24 with other reporters, 25 minutes before Building 7 collapses after 5 p.m. in the afternoon, they get on the news and say Building 7 has collapsed into its own footprint symmetrically, and right out the window is Building 7. And then the BBC for years wouldn't comment on it. Now they admit, oh, that was just an accident. And then later they changed their story and said, oh, Reuters sent us an internal report saying it had collapsed.
First, they said, we've misplaced the tape. That was their first response.
Well, at first, the media, when we broke that, because one of our listeners just saw the video in some archive and made the point, so we broke that at prisonplanet.com. For 2 or 3 weeks, it was, we were liars. It was a fake video. She had a blue screen behind her. The timestamp on the TV was wrong. And then BBC said they lost the tape, they couldn't comment, and you're right. Later they came out and said, okay, it was an accident. Sure. And we said, well, who fed you that? Somebody did false scripting. That's just like with JFK when stuff in Asia, before Oswald even been captured, they already had his name in newspapers. Somebody got that false scripting wrong. But this is in front of everybody. On TV, they're saying Building 7 has collapsed in its own footprint, complete collapse from fire. And there it is right behind them. And no steel building had ever collapsed from fire in all of history, except that day, Tower 1 and 2, but they've been hit by a plane. That was their excuse, jet fuel, pancaking, all of this, which NIST has now had to back off of. But then 7 is hit by nothing, and then they false script. But I guess we're not supposed to ask those questions. It's un-American. Just like, I guess, MSNBC and Cy Hirsch, New Yorker, weren't supposed to report on Dick Cheney wanting to attack our ships and blame it on Iran. Maybe, according to them, it's unpatriotic.
Well, I guess we've arrived at a place where it's unpatriotic to be a person of logic.
Charlie, I noticed that you are critical of Barack Obama on his civil rights record. I mean, he said he was going to get rid of warrantless wiretapping against the American people. He's keeping it. He said he was going to vote against the Patriot Act. He voted to reauthorize it. He said he was going to end secret arrest, the rendition program. He's keeping it.
Let me just say this, Alex. He got my vote based on what I heard, but not on what I've observed since.
So like Elvis says, a little less talk, a little more action?
Amen, Elvis.
Now, you've also got the point that he attacked indefinite detention that Bush had, and then now he's just saying it's, what's the term you use in your letter?
Permanent detention.
Yes, this permanent detention. He's saying in speeches, even if somebody's found not guilty by the tribunal, we may just have to keep them for the rest of their lives. I mean, that sounds like Bush on steroids. Are you confident that if we put enough pressure on him, we can get a new investigation?
I'm not confident about anything, Alex, but...
so you're just trying, then. You're just doing your best.
Absolutely.
Duty is ours, consequence belongs to God.
There you go. The greatest journey begins with the first step.
Charlie, let's go over just a few of these points in your letter. I mean, folks can obviously go to Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com, and it's all over the web now. They can read it for themselves and check out all the footnotes and links to the official record. It shows that we've got the facts and they're lying. But I notice in there you talk about something that came out last year that's gotten hardly any attention. Cy Hirsch, Pulitzer Prize winner, New Yorker magazine, comes out and even gives speeches saying that Dick Cheney was planning to paint up fake Iranian patrol boats, man them with Navy SEALs, and have them attack U.S. destroyers in the Strait of Hormuz to blame it on Iran. I love how you put that in your piece. That right there to the president should be plenty of evidence to open an investigation of 9/11, because you got Operation Northwoods you mentioned, you've got the Gulf of Tonkin.